Back in January, everyone was.
New year, new me.
Now it's April. So I want to ask you something honestly. Are you still showing up as that person? Hello, everybody, and welcome to SA Sociology Hub. My name is Thandeka Sibanyoni, and I am a sociologist and founder and host of SA Sociology Hub. In today's video, I want to bring you a sociological perspective to the whole idea of
New year, new me.
let's get right into it. Because the whole idea of New Year, New Me sounds simple, because it looks like you can just start, or at the beginning of each year, you are required to choose how you want to show up, or that's because people do it all the time. And so you also maybe feel, okay, it's only right for me to do it. But there's something deeper behind that. Choosing a new version of yourself is not just a personal decision. It doesn't happen in isolation. There is a whole social context that affects or has an impact on the whole idea of New Year, New Me. We exist within society, within culture, within families, and even economic realities, right? And sometimes you're trying to become someone new in a world that doesn't really or always accept who you are becoming. I'll give an example. For example, you are a Black woman, you're coming from the rural areas, and you move to Johannesburg. Or even if you don't move, maybe you are in the deep rural of KZN and you want a new identity. How the people around you treat you as the new self they will not always accept that, because they've known who you are, where you come from, your family, and your social class. And they might fight who you're becoming to remind you to stay there, right? And so that's the whole idea, that the whole social context might not be accepting who you're becoming. And so I want us to speak about human identity. So before we even talk about change, we need to understand that there's something important, that we are social beings, right? There's a saying that umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, that I am because we are. That means we seek belonging, we are shaped by others, whether we like it or not. And we don't exist in isolation or alone, right? And sometimes who you want to be has outgrown that social space that you find yourself in. And so this brings us to a question of whether identity is given or taken, because when you're born, you're told, okay, you're a girl or you're a boy, and then you are dressed in blue or pink. And so this brings a question of whether our identity is given or taken or created, right? And so I won't dive into the gender aspect of it, because today we're speaking on a human level, just a reflection and identity as an individual. So this, I'm not going to dive into gender and sexuality. Some people believe that identity is given because of your background, your upbringing, your environment, while others believe that identity is created. It's your choice, it's your body, your actions, your growth, right? But the truth is, it's not one or the other, it's both. That's my argument today, that it's a dance, between what you've been given and what you choose to create with what you've been given, or create based off of just your environment. And I want us to understand something, that identity is not something you decide once and for all. It is a process. And I know that we live in a society that says, you've chosen a course, you've chosen a degree, you've chosen a job, stick to it, that's it. No. That is not how life happens, unfortunately. And that's, or maybe that's the beauty. Fortunately, life doesn't require us to be only one thing. Imagine if you're just choosing a career and you have to stick to that for 30, 40 years. And yes, there are people that have done that, which has been good for them. And if you find that that is what you want to do, kudos to you, you know. But let's be honest and realistic that although that is the expectation for everyone, it doesn't have to be the responsibility that everyone carries, you know? So we need to understand that identity is a process that unfolds over time through your experiences, your reflections, and sometimes your resistance. Yes, because sometimes growth requires you to go against the expectations or question what you've been taught and choose something different. That's part of life. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become. And so we can choose different identities. We can choose to be, as human beings. We get to, through each season of life, you get to an opportunity to choose how you show up in that season. And so, in as much as we are able to choose our own identities and throughout the seasons, we need to also be aware that identity comes with responsibility because we're not living in isolation. You need to understand that you are part of a society, the human society. And in as much as we make individual choices, our individual choices affect the group, they affect the harmony of society, you know? And so as you grow, you also need to ask, am I acting with integrity? Am I being responsible? Am I contributing positively? And so with the 3 months that has passed, and you've told us that, or you've told yourself that this is a new year, new you, instead of just asking yourself, you know, or saying, new year, new me, ask yourself, who am I becoming? And think about it not just on a personal level. Yes, think about it on a personal level, but also understand or ask yourself, am I growing in a way that aligns with my values? Am I growing in line with my purpose? And am I kind to the person that I want to be? But also, am I kind to others? You know, because change is not just something that happens in January. It is something that you choose over and over and over again. And so you need to also just be aware that as you keep choosing self, be aware that your actions have an effect not just on you, but also on the human society. And just dance, keep dancing, you know, keep dancing to the idea that it is okay to not be understood. It is okay to not go with the tide, but to go against it. But also understand that and reflect on really who you are becoming. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you did enjoy this video. I will see you again in the next video. Bye.